My name is BJ Baldwin. You probably know me from my short film Recoil. We're here in Las Vegas, Nevada, and I'm going to teach Tom how to drive a trophy truck properly.
I've got to say, it's one of the weirdest cars I've ever driven in my entire life.
My bandana's wonky.
Hello, we're here at BJ Baldwin's little lockup where he builds his trophy trucks, and we're just going to have a quick walk around one of his competition vehicles, and he's going to tell us what he thinks of it.
You know, an off-road race car is different from like a road race car in a sense that structurally it has to be very, very strong as a side effect of having to take all this punishment and all these bumps. This particular vehicle has had to go, you know, as many as 20 hours at the Baja 1000, just getting beat to death the whole time.
And that's constant, like, big hits.
Constant, big hits. A vehicle that's made for wide open desert racing, long distance desert racing. It has to be very, very strong. The whole cage is made out of 4130 chromoly. It's 120 wall. It's very strong. Everything's triangulated. Everything's TIG welded, designed to absorb impact and not bend the frames. They're probably 250 times stronger than our standard production vehicle that you can buy off the showroom floor.
Jeez, that's a hell of a thing. Okay, so the heart of it is this motor.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? How powerful is it?
This motor it's based off of a Chevy engine.
Yeah.
It's an all aluminum 458-inch small block. Okay. It makes about 820 to 850 horsepower, depending on the race that we're taking it to. If it doesn't have to go for that long, a shorter race,
wind up a little bit.
We wind it up a little bit, put a little bit more compression in it. For the Baja 1000, it makes probably 780 horsepower because it's got to run for 20 hours at a time.
You need the longevity as well as the power.
Definitely need the longevity, definitely need the power.
You wear tyres through?
Yeah,
like
still.
in any kind of racing, like in circuit racing?
Yeah, just like in any type of racing.
Because these things don't look like they're going to wear out this side of, you know, Armageddon.
No, these are Toyo Open Country MTs. It's their mud terrain tire, but it's also their race tire. So this tire is very, very strong. You can run over a rock that's 12 inches tall at 50 miles an hour and not go flat. And they last typically about 180 miles in a racing environment. So
until what? Until they break the carcass, or they?
Well, no, they don't go flat. They just wear the lugs down. So when we pull into a pit at anywhere from 150 to 180 miles, the tires just get all chewed up. And it's not the fronts so much as it's the rears. We can go the fronts all the race.
Because they're driving harder.
Yeah, the rears do most of the work. I mean, if you can think about a surface that has embedded rock, it's kind of like almost like shaped like a cheese grater with all the sharp rocks and shale and everything. We're sliding sideways through some of that stuff at 90, 100, 100 So it's very, very hard on tires, especially when you're trying to pick up the pace and make up time. I did the Central European Rally and I did the Dakar. So I know what kind of surface, you know, the Dakar is, and it doesn't have big, huge bumps. You know, that it's not a surface that people drive on repeatedly with off-road race cars or even street cars or even Jeeps. So it doesn't get torn up as much. This vehicle is much heavier than a Dakar vehicle, but most of that is in the strength of the chassis and in the suspension and in the wheel travel and in the shocks. These are 4.0 King shocks. They're quadruple bypass, and then you have a coil over here that adds.
So that's all of this arrangement.
Yeah, exactly. So then you have a coilover that aids in the dampening. This is a bypass shock, so this is a progressive rate shock that you can have external adjustments on. During the roughest parts of Baja, you can see as much as 550 to 600 degrees out of the oil in the shock. And these reservoirs, which circulate the oil, help cool the oil in the shock. You're really only having like 60% connectivity with the ground. And that's coming from just the wheels just bouncing around and kind of like hitting the front of the bump and bouncing up, spinning because you're on the accelerator, and then hitting the face of the other bump. And that happens 10 times a second. and that puts a tremendous amount of load, shock load, in the powertrain and the axles and the gear set and the transmission.
Is it pretty hard on you?
You know what? It's long distance races are very physically demanding.
Because this is obviously where you're at during all of this.
It's actually much smoother than you might think. You never really get any kind of back injury or any kind of muscle fatigue for driving around for an hour. It's when you get into like the 15, 16, 17 hours is when you start really feeling, just your muscles kind of fail and just being shaken up a bunch.
Fail?
Well, leg muscles for sure from pushing on the brake
Get
pedal
shaky.
and the gas, yeah.
Because it looks incredibly violent. I mean, when you see them, you can obviously see the suspension doing some of the work, but then when you see what the terrain you guys race on, it looks like you're going to get beaten to death in here.
Yeah.
What do you do to make it? Do you try and make it as comfortable as possible? Because obviously, if you're going to run for 18 hours,
Absolutely. I mean, like you were saying, it looks violent from the outside. We try and keep the violence on the outside of the vehicle. and keep,
externalize all of that stuff, make the truck work.
Yeah, and the truck works very well. The cab is the smoothest place for the truck. The suspension soaks up a lot of the huge bumps, and the cab, we've kind of designed it to be very, very comfortable so that you can stay in here and get shaken up for long, long periods of time without being fatigued.
He doesn't know me, don't forget. I've not crashed in weeks.